stopped acting like a party. I mean, we kidded ourselves into believing that the only offices that mattered were President of the United States or United States Senate. There were many so-called active Democrats that I would speak with on the phone, trying to impress upon them when I was chair of the Democratic Governors Association, that states matter. And many of these Democratic contributors, donors, active people would sometimes say to me almost proudly, oh, Martin, I don't do governors. I only do president and U.S. Senate. Well, look, we have to field candidates for governor, good men and women up and down the ballot for state senate and state rep, because the truth is we were wiped out. We lost more governor's races and more state legislatures and local elections than at any time in the 8-year period of the Democratic Party. And shame on us. We need to act like a party. We need to realize every state matters. And that's what I'm going to be putting my shoulder into.
Well, in some ways, Governor, the Republican Party was guilty of the same sin, being complacent about these middle-class flyover state voters, blue-collar voters who've been left behind by both parties, the so-called forgotten man that this president reached out to. What is your message? What's the Democratic message? Because there's a lot of talk of, say, economic justice or resisting President Trump. But what is the message to these working-class voters to say, hey, don't side with this president who says he's working for you. Instead, side with us? What's the message?
Look, the message is opportunity for all. I think it was Teddy Roosevelt who said that freedom in the United States of America means to be included both socially and economically in the life of our country. Without that inclusion of all people, our country doesn't have much of a reason for being.
Well, what does that mean, Governor? I don't know. Opportunity for all. What does that mean?
It means being able to send our kids to college without bankrupting our families. It means being able to be rewarded for hard work instead of watching our wages go down. It means a government that's actually investing in our country rather than bankrupting our country, as this latest tax so-called reform would do. It means all of these things that our parents and grandparents understood give our children more opportunities than what we have had. Look, this isn't rocket science, but it is the proper practice of American capitalism, which means that the more our people earn, the more they spend, the more our economy grows, and when we make our country stronger, our country can actually give back more to our children and grandchildren.
Governor,
and it's a message, yes.
It's good to hear, it's good to hear Democrats using the word capitalism, because you hear a lot of Democrats, whether it's socialism or democratic socialism, critiquing this president's tax reform bill, saying that it's a tax break for the rich. When you actually look at the details, the rich in many places, and a lot of places, get hit harder than anybody else. There is tax relief for others. Corporate tax rate should bring jobs back here, which Democrats say they want to do as well. So is there nothing in this tax reform bill that would lead to higher wages, that would lead to giving money back to people so they can spend that money, that would relief to middle-class voters? Would you not acknowledge at least that the motives of this president and Republicans are to help working-class voters as well?
I can't speak to their motives, but I can, in answer to your question, no. There's nothing in this tax reform that does anything for job creation. Look, ma'am, if
doubling the standard deduction
for wealthy and for corporations,
doubling the standard deduction, child tax credits, I mean.
Yeah, that'd be nice, but it's not worth bankrupting our country. Look, if tax cuts for the wealthy and corporations created jobs and better wages, we'd really be rolling in it now, wouldn't we? But it doesn't work like that. That's not how American capitalism works. You can't bankrupt your country and create more opportunities for your kids. Yeah, we've come out of the recession thanks to President Obama's leadership faster than most other countries, but we have yet to see wages go up again for most Americans, and a lot of people if they have less than a college degree, haven't seen any jobs
because
come
so
back.
many of those jobs have gone overseas, Governor.
Challenge.
You would acknowledge that so many of those jobs have gone overseas. I mean, we've seen it happen over generations. Would not reducing the corporate tax rate, rather than trying to line people's pockets, you would have to acknowledge base economics would say incentives would be for companies to come back here and provide those jobs here. Is that not good for flyover states, as you said you don't want to describe them, to have those jobs coming back? Isn't that a basic premise?
Yeah, but look, you assume that they're paying taxes now under our tax code. That's not true. You know, GE, I think last year paid nothing.
Because the code is so complex. So you have to simplify the code as well, Governor. You'd have to acknowledge that.
Look, here's what I believe. I believe that, yes, if we had a fairer code and people actually paid their fair share, that would be better. But what is absolutely bad for our country would be to bankrupt our country with a $1.5 trillion added to our debt that this bill doesn't even pay for. Look, the real challenge is how do we get wages and pay to start going up again with productivity in the United States? That's what makes capitalism actually work, when more people are included.
Some may see it's a bit cynical for the Democrats now to be talking about debt and deficits after 8 years of Obama. Speaking of cynicism, Governor, I'll let you get the last word. You're starting this PAC. You're going around the country. Are we looking at the beginnings of a 2020 presidential bid?
Look, I'm going to be putting my shoulders into helping people win all across the country. Let me give you one quick example. In Oklahoma, in the last 7 special elections in Oklahoma, a state Donald Trump won by overwhelming margins, our candidates have won 5 of those 7 races, flipping seats in many instances that people thought we had no chance of winning. But it's not just Oklahoma. It's New Hampshire, it's Iowa, it's South Florida, it's Washington State. So I'm putting my shoulder into helping good people win back their state so we can save our country. And I'll make a decision about 2020 later.